what's going on here? What's going on here, guys? The problem, right? What all those with type 1 diabetes think is the problem is gone. So we have this illusion of freedom, this illusion of normalcy. And yeehaw, the healthcare system shows up on its white horse. Faith in the system is restored. We can trust our doctors again because they got us a cure. Hooray for them. Sign me up for my follow-up in 6 months. Let's refill the prescriptions again, shall we? And on a greater societal impact front, what happens to all the advancements that we made independent of the healthcare system, right? If your beta cells are working and you don't have to worry about your blood sugar anymore, are you really going to be committed to finding out as much about your health as you were before? No way. Curiosity and the public research efforts are halted because you don't need to look anymore. Meanwhile, none of what caused the issue in the first place is being addressed. And of those things that caused it in the first place, none of those things has to change because we can't see the problem anymore. So agriculture and food, how we're taking care of our food and supplying our food, insurance, pharmaceuticals, they all stay the exact same, which they love. And we have no means of bringing about change because we've been pacified. So this, I argue, is actually kind of harmful in the long run because we're looking for a quick fix at the expense of actually learning what's going on. Cellular environment optimization. This could be iron management. This could be electrolyte balance. This could be systemic organization within the body itself, organizing body systems, liver, gut, nervous system, all of it. Nutrient-based repair. Food is thy medicine. Food is thy medicine. And if we just get our beta cells taken care of, we lose sight of that. And so if we don't address any of those things, these stem cell therapies are just graphs floating in chaos. They're insulated and functional because the immune system can't touch them and they make insulin, but they're not integrated to a healthy system and they can't sustain themselves, breeding more dependence. And then, like I mentioned before, it's loss of momentum. With a cure in place, we lose the momentum to continue assessing alternative methods and assessing what's actually going on. For all of us, if we not only do we lose the internal drive to look, right? Why keep looking if we already have the answer? We lose the ability to look because if our blood sugar is regulated artificially, how do we practice alternative methods? How do we measure their progress if our beta cells are being propped up elsewhere? We can't learn anything new. So we're in the midst of teaching ourselves how to fish, and a misaligned cure is giving us the catch. It's giving us the fish to distract us from mastering the process. I know we all know the metaphor of, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for life. We're teaching ourselves to fish. Don't take the fish. We need to learn how to fish. And then losing sight of the trees in an oversimplified forest. And this goes back to kind of the confusing marketing behind vitamins and minerals and alternative ways of healing. Pieces of the puzzle are being dismissed or undervalued because of their perceived lack of consistency, right? Oh, well, I took magnesium and I didn't get better. Well, you need to understand it in the context of everything else. And just because it works for one doesn't mean it's the same exact thing for someone else. Because we've assumed that the cure is singular, consistent, and uniform across an entire disease state, and it is not. It's going to be a little bit different for everyone else, and here's how I want to show that. We need to learn the system. Now, this is not exhaustive. This is strictly for demonstration purposes. The red is gut, green is liver, blue is pancreas, purple is nervous system. There are more components at play, but this is just to illustrate that across 3 people that may have diabetes, the factors that went into their diabetes developing are going to be at different levels. Diabetes is a symptom. That's it. So not every person has the same set of tasks when it comes to addressing their unique systemic imbalances. And within each of these, the gut, the liver, the pancreas, the nervous system, there are so many options on how to address the areas of focus, right? So it's like person 1's gut is doing pretty good. Person 3's gut, not so good at all. Person 2 needs some help. So let's say person 2 is like, oh, well, I drink, this is oversimplified, but, person 2 is like, I drink ginger tea before my meals. And that helps me because their gut's okay. Person 3 starts drinking ginger tea before their meals, and it gets a little bit better, but not enough, right? Because they have further to go. They need another thing. And so, and beyond just like the measurables, the quantifiables within each of these systems, there are non-measurable variables in healing. Your sense of safety, your nervous system regulation, your belief in your ability to. Person 1 could do everything they needed to address their imbalances, but if they don't believe that it's actually working and they're kind of living in this state of like, I hate that I have diabetes, I'm doing all this, I don't know if it's going to work, it's probably not going to work, even though it's the exact right thing. And then I just pose this to think how humans react when the perceived answer is shown, right? Because what if someone did come forth and say, hey, listen, I found the thing for diabetes? What happens on a societal level? People would go apeshit. People would lose their goddamn minds, right? Just imagine. So person comes forward, cured my diabetes, no more insulin, I can eat whatever I want, life is good. The rest of the world, what happened? Person 1 tells them exactly what they did. I took 20 grams of vitamin C every day for 5 years, no spinach, no applesauce, and I ran 2 miles every other day. Again, not based on anything real, but you can just imagine the hype around this one person's exact prescription. So what happens? The rest of the world hears this without any context, and they say, I got to do everything this person did because it worked for them. It's got to work for me. Vitamin C, you can't keep it on the shelves. You got all these companies coming into the market selling all of these different versions of vitamin C no one's ever heard before. Nobody really knows what's going on. There's some stories of how it worked, other stories of how it went horribly wrong. Nobody wants to buy applesauce anymore. Spinach is the devil. And everyone wants to make vitamin C. Meanwhile, the running market, sidewalks are filled to the brim with people running because they thought running heals diabetes. And then from a health professional standpoint, everyone and their mother is talking about how, well, it's cardiovascular health, it's the oxalates in spinach, it's the fructose in orange juice and vitamin C, the bioflat, it's like they're grasping at straws, hoping to give some relevant information that's going to let them profit off of the hype on this one person's cure. But what actually happens to diabetes? Let's be honest. Some see benefits. Some see a lot, some see a little, some don't see any at all. Why? Because person one had a unique set of circumstances behind the development of their unique diabetes. And it just so happened that vitamin C, apple, spinach, and running were pivotal things in that. But again, you're never getting the whole story. There's just infinite variables leading to this person's success with these specific routines. Meanwhile, you're a completely different person. Look at what their needs would be based on their 4 categories. You arrived at diabetes on a completely different road. So if you take someone else's quote unquote cure and apply it to yourself with no knowledge of how those pieces fit into your disease development, the imbalances and deficits persist and you don't get relief. And so it follows this bell curve. When you kind of just apply these across the board cures without addressing the underlying issue. And this is where we exist in the health and wellness space right now, because we just lack a context of a complete picture of what health actually looks like. And it feeds this cycle of, man, I hope there's a cure. Oh my God, someone felt relief. I'm going to try this out. Oh, it didn't work the way I wanted it to. Shoot. Time goes on. Oh, another hope, and it's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. And then let's talk about what's happening emotionally and mentally when it comes to a cure coming about the way that it did, and how we come to terms with what our expectations of what we should get in a cure. So let's be honest. What we are learning about from a public perspective, how we've connected and collaborated, is beginning to overreach the professional realm. Type 1 diabetes patients have never been more educated, connected, and enthusiastic for a cure, because we've been able to self-experiment and share results. We've got the courage and the resources to put bigger puzzle pieces together than ever before. And I'll mention those projects again: Crushing T1, the Beta Cell Project, and T1 Remission subreddit. Harmine, GLP-1, those studies talking about increasing beta cell regeneration, success with Qigong, chiropractic adjustments, non-traditional energetic practices, all of these things outside of the scope of where we thought the cure had to come from. And so now you have these companies with these advanced technology capitalizing on our exhaustion, because with the huge new influx of people with type 1 diabetes and the lack of circulating information on how to actually go about managing what's really the issue, who wouldn't be the first to volunteer for one of these inpatient procedures? And it doesn't matter if you've had the disease 40 years or 4 days. We've all been on the cure's right around the corner, wink, wink, for 40 years. No one believes that shit anymore. No one believes it. And we used to think that it was because we really didn't think they had it. It was like, oh yeah, they just keep saying that, but they don't actually have it. But now, given the timeline of how this is all played out, maybe they've had it the whole time and they just didn't have a reason to let it out. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And from an education standpoint, what parent is educated enough, what person with type 1 diabetes is educated enough on the condition to fully comprehend the side effects or possible health implications of what else needs to happen with these implant technologies? And then I feel this daily, the societal pressure not to spoil it for the rest of us, right? Who wants to be the guy when the cure comes around to be like, hey guys, this isn't it. I don't want this because this, and this. Because who's ready to listen to that when they're just ready to not have the disease anymore and it's being sold as not having the disease anymore? And they know that. They know that. When the consumer outgrows or outcompetes the market, businesses need to keep themselves on the receiving end of public advancements. Right? We are gaining more understanding on how this disease is developing. The business side of diabetes needs to make sure that it doesn't cost them. So guess what? They deliver on a cure that's been on standby for we don't know how long. Stem cell therapy, immunomodulation. Does anybody else think that's weird? That as soon as we start to actually get somewhere in understanding how this is going about, the cure, it's here. It's here. The trial, it's all here. I don't know. And it's giving you the desired result, right? You get beta cells that make insulin. So you're happy. But it's really just symptom relief that most don't realize is a symptom, while bypassing the root cause and keeping consumers in the dark. This allows for continued dependence on the healthcare system, on the food system, on the insurance and the pharmaceutical system. And it prevents the community from overreaching the medical profession and realizing their sovereign power in healing. Because like I said before, if you're cured, A, why would you look? And B, even if you did, you'd have no way of knowing what was actually working. And here's just a quick little timeline graphic of why I think it's shady, how things have all shaped out. But down here in the left-hand corner, the public is completely disconnected from healing abilities. It relies on the industry. This was not all that long ago. I know when I got diagnosed, it was like, holy moly, I got diabetes. Tell me what to do, doc. I don't have a say in this. There's no way. And I had no control over it. Eat the way you did before. You don't need to exercise. Just, pump insulin. You're good. The system in blue, the public in yellow. The system profits in this holding pattern, right? It's just, how do we manage the condition, manage the condition, manage the condition? Meanwhile, bolstering industry-influenced illness, because we're not addressing any of the loops at play here. But then the public spidey senses start to tingle a little bit, and we're starting to see that the research is stagnating. We get tired of being told, 5 years away, almost there. Oh, almost there. And we start to do our own looking. And we start to find things that no one was talking about before. What? And we go to business and we're like, hey, you've been talking about this for a long time. How do you not know this? And they say, dissension in the ranks. They sense a loss of compliance. Nobody wants to go to the doctor anymore. Nobody wants to listen anymore. They're experiencing advancements in their health independent of having to go to the doctor. Whoa. Let's increase our research efforts to match those of public interest. We'll fiend small incremental advancements. Hey, we got this new CGM, closed loop system, just as good as having a pancreas, right? Eat what you want. The pump takes care of it. Don't worry about it. We make advanced connections. We recognize the industry's faults. This isn't going to play anymore, right? I feel better now avoiding what the industry has told me to do than ever before. It's like, it's at the point now where if your doctor's telling you to do something, do the opposite. I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. It made me sicker, and it made me have to come back. I'm not doing that anymore. Oh my God, the business. We found it. Everything that you were talking about before, at least I think so. I wasn't really listening, but everything that you wanted, here it is. Beta cells with insulin, baby. We'll address the immediate public concern. Oh, by the way, hey, you got your beta cells, you got your insulin. You're going to need to come back in and either get a re-injection of the cells, and you're going to need the immunosuppressants. So we'll reaffirm the patient industry relationship. You're better, but you're not off the hook, right? Crazy. And so you create this sense of safety among the uneducated cure consumers. But again, you're still a consumer. You're just consuming a new cure. So you get symptom relief and unwillingly continue to advocate for a lifestyle that was making you sick in the first place because you have no impetus for change. You have no reason. Because nobody ever came out and said explicitly, hey, the way we're living our lives right now is why we're diseased. But hey, if you've got an answer, why would you change? And by not addressing the underlying systemic imbalances of why diabetes came about in the first place, we just keep kicking the can down the road. Because, hey, you don't have the raw materials to keep your beta cells alive. We'll give you proper beta cells. But guess what? Something else fails down the line because the root cause is that you don't have what you need to sustain a healthy cellular environment. So when something else comes about, it could be through the immunosuppressant use or whatever, but something else is going to come up down the road and we say, oh my God, not this new epidemic. All of this is happening. We have no idea where this came from. News cycle started all over again.